All right, I think we can get started. It's 11:31. So, welcome to this session with Ally and Cognizant around transforming customer experience with using Amazon Alexa. I'm really excited to be here with each one of you because together we're making the future, right? Every decade or so, it seems that the way we interact with computing changes, right? So think 10 years ago. Think about the mobile device. You had the internet in your pocket. It was amazing, right? It was a magical moment where you could really touch and feel and interact with the device, right? And there were so many great experiences, but at the same time, it was kind of rough, right? Developers and big companies went around saying, well, I gotta be on mobile, but I don't know what's the ROI, I don't know how this is gonna monetize or help my business. So what they did, they just threw their web page up there, right? The result was, people like you and me were trying to pinch in, zoom into these, and try to hit these little tap targets or hyperlinks to make sure we hit the right ones. And if you were like me, for the most part, I got it wrong, right? I hit the one, I tapped on the hyperlink that was above or below, right? So it was rough. So then, the brave, the bold, the pioneering folks got together and said, we're going to figure this out. And then they got together, and the result was what we now know as responsive design, right? And with responsive design, they figured out things like touch independent resolution screens, right? Where the content on your mobile is the same as the content on your web page, right? So, it was really those guys that figured it out. And then there were companies like Romeo with Angry Birds, where they figured out the slingshot metaphor, right? So you pull and drag, and letting go was a shoot button. Really? Letting go was a shoot button? Right? Think about it, right? We did not know these things when we started. These were totally foreign concepts. So they got together and completely revamped and redesigned the experiences that we had on mobile, right? Another experience was when you are scrolling using your mouse on a web page, if you scroll up, the page moved down, right? That was sort of weird, but we were all used to it. But if you are on a mobile device and you scroll down with your finger, the page moved down, right? Because it was direct manipulation. So, when we started, we did not know these things at the beginning, right? So where are we now, right? Maybe I should start moving my slides as well. Right? I'm Paras, Senior Solutions Architect with AWS. And, where are we now, right? Alexa is 3 years old now, right? And, there are lots of magical experiences, right? Like jokes and music and utilities and games and, all sorts of things. But I'd argue, what's the responsive design for voice? We still haven't figured that out, right? And that's going to take bold and brave and pioneering and companies like Cognizant and companies like Ally to help figure that out, right? What is the responsive design for voice? We still don't know that, right? One of the fundamental things about voice is the existence of intents and utterances, right? So utterance is what you say, right? And intent is what you meant to do, right? So if you're on a web page, right, and you say, you hit the OK button, you're calling the OK function, right? But with voice, when you say, okay, you could say OK, I could say Roger, I could say move on, I could say go ahead. It all means the same thing. It means OK, right? So with Alexa, I should mute that. With the power of Alexa and AI, we are able to take those utterances, transform those into intents, and give it to you so you could use them in your code, right? You can straight away use them in the code so that we can, fast track and make it easier for your customers to be able to interact with the device, right? So that's basically, where we are, right? We still need to figure out the magical moment for voice, right? So these are our set of current devices, right? As you can, some examples include the Echo Dot, which you can put in every room. You have the Echo Show, which has a hub on it. You got the Echo Show, which you can put in the kitchen. You got the Echo Plus, which has a hub on it, right? Smart home hub on it, so you can do a variety of things. But in all reality, these are all reference devices, right? What we're trying to do is we're trying to inspire the world to go build all sorts of devices with Alexa in it, right? So you'll see Alexa in cars, you'll see Alexa in refrigerators, you'll see Alexa in other speakers, and in all sorts of devices, right? Now, with all these devices and these capabilities, right? What we are envisioning is we're looking at something, at a point where you have ambient computing, right? You could basically talk to your environment, get your answers back, and then get your needs satisfied, right? So that's basically how we look at Alexa, right? And that's how we're inspiring developers using the Alexa voice service and the Alexa skills, right? With that being said, right, I do want to talk a little bit about Cognizant, right? Cognizant has been a premier partner with AWS since 2011. They've done many successful projects. They've been audited as a managed services provider, which is really hard to get through because the standards on the MSP is really high. Right? They have over 1,200, right? Staggering numbers, huge numbers of AWS professionals. And out of those, almost 100 people are certified at the professional level, right? Which is the highest level of certification that you could get on AWS, right? So they have over 200 customers that they have migrated to AWS, and 80 customers that they currently manage from an end-to-end perspective, right? And the result out of that, right, is it's to always drive repeatability. And Cognizant does that really well because they are able to drive repeatability from all these customers. They're able to learn, build transformational blueprints, and then use those blueprints to basically use them for other customers, right? So really great partner, done exciting work on AWS, and I'm sure they are continuing to grow their AWS practice. With that said, right, I'd like you all to hear from our partner and our customer, Cognizant and Ally. I'd like to welcome Rajan Ranganathan, VP and Global Head Cloud Services from Cognizant, to take you further.
This one? Right? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Paras. That was your magical moment. I think definition was pretty apt, and many people in this room, I think, have gone through the experience of Alexa. Some have used for fun, but still, I think we will look at how devices such as like Alexa can be put into an enterprise and commercial grade use. So with that said, who is Cognizant? I think many of them, I think in the room, they may be aware of the Cognizant, just to clear the benefit of doubt, right? We are one of the world's leading technology service provider. We help our customers across the three mandates of our go-to-market, which is we help the customers in building digital business. Then the second one is digital operations, and the third one is digital systems and technology. So digital business is how do we create using data, machine learning, artificial intelligence to build innovative business models. Digital operation is just a middle office, taking the entire enterprise process and digitizing it. The third one is how do we build resilient systems and technology, such as infrastructure, the cloud, etc. So these are the three big pillars. We are if you look at Fortune's, 9 most admired companies in a row. Recently, we got into Forbes 17 list a couple of weeks back. We have 265,000 employees spread across 100 global delivery centers. We are headquartered in TNEC. So that's a quick snapshot of who is Cognizant. Now, if you look at it's all, Alexa and all conversational AI is all about experience, right? If you look at how Cognizant is helping to the digital experience on the cloud, right? So if you look at, as you see, cloud exists in different forms in enterprise, right? Every organization, like at least till 1.5 years back, right? Everybody said, I'm on the cloud. But exactly when you look at what are you on the cloud, what applications you're on the cloud, their definition differs. But the way we look at cloud, how do we create experience, for our enterprise customers across those, 7 pillars? Hybrid cloud, then migrating onto the cloud, enterprise apps on the cloud, cloud operate, cloud security, and data cloud, which is data lakes, etc. And the last one is industry cloud. Industry cloud is insurance cloud, life sciences cloud, GXP compliance cloud, things of that nature, right? So this is how we take our offerings to our customers, and in the process, we have also created some accelerators, such as cloud choices, helping the customers to land onto the right landing zone onto the cloud, whether it is a hybrid, for example, VMware on AWS, right? I think it was recently launched. So we are helping clients, okay, you can have certain things on cloud native on the AWS, certain things VMware workloads on the AWS, and things of that nature. Then Security and compliance is critical. We bring the cloud trust, which is another accelerator. And the last one is Cloud 360, which is a AI-infused cloud management platform. So with these accelerators, with those 7 core offerings, we use the Cloud Steps transformation framework, right? That is how we help our customers to migrate the workloads from point A to point B. It has 5 phases: envision, assess, design, migrate, and run and optimize. Each and everything, in the process, we also do application rationalization, because of late we are hearing customers doesn't want to do a plain vanilla lift and shift as is migration. They wanted to, re-platform their application. They wanted to containerize it. They wanted to build microservices into that, and they wanted to make it digital native and cloud native, right? So this Cloud Steps transformation framework will help the customers to migrate. So with that said, we use the 6 use cases. As you see the wheel on your left, right? So each use cases, I think, has been carefully designed on the AWS cloud. If you take any enterprise, the use case has to fall within this 6. We call it as a wheel of fortune, right? Either it could be a data center migration, agile engineering developments, that's like DevOps, such as DevOps, resilient web platforms, intelligent data platform, enterprise apps, and workspaces, which is VDI and desktops on the cloud. Any customer has to fit in within these 6 use cases. And of course, we have, as Paras was giving a nice introduction about it, we are a premier consulting partner. We have the best of breed people, and we are still ramping our folks as we speak. So with that said, right, if you look at the customer interaction and the AI, like this exactly falls in the 4th use case, which is building intelligent data platforms, right? If you look at, I think we are in an interesting time. I think if you take Paras's magical moment, if you look at the evolution of the magical moment, how it started, right? Some time back, if you look at everybody, invested in speech recognition like 20 years back, right? Even when I did my own startup, right? I did some millions of dollars, creating some speech recognition systems, etc. But it failed. But things have changed. Everybody wants a human-like conversations. Okay, how do I create a human-like conversations, right? That is where devices such as Alexa, which is a virtual, conversation agents, virtual conversation, that plays a critical role. Yes, but if you look at all this entire, this interaction and this conversational AI type of definition, if you have to really apply to the enterprise, how it can help the enterprise to get a customer experience, right? That is what I think, we are all driving towards that. I've just given some few examples, right? But if you look at all the analysts, what they say is like, this is Forrester's recent quote, right? AI-infused offerings to improve customer experience, make it easier for them to achieve their goals. AI will be infused in each and every element of whatever we touch across the enterprise. That's what I think the trend which we are going to see. So how does conversational AI deliver results? Those are 3 key things I think I want you to just take home here. One is it will drive customer experience. So when I say drive customer experience, if we look at 24/7 service availability. Then second point, productivity and efficiency, right? It can definitely, lower the cost of service, agents, because that can do an interaction. You don't need a real agent. They can spend time more on doing other things. Then if you look at the business outcome, that is where, if you look at that this has been the trend, right? If you look at all the fancy and the nice gadgets that is coming online, if you go to all the universities, all these kids are enabling bots to buy it online, and then they're just doing, selling, with a hiked up price, etc. Right? That is one example. But if you look at when it comes to a business outcome, customer loyalty, I would say customer loyalty is very critical. So thereby you are giving a personalized customer experience approach. So these are the 3, I would say big results I think one can expect from a conversational AI. This is a typical journey. We call it as a DPIM process. First, you start with the discover and experiment, then lay the foundation, implement, and then scale. First start with a small prototype and then scale it, and then maintain and expand from there, right? And all along this steps, right? This discover, plan, implement, and maintain. Yes, we need to ensure that customer experience is taken care, productivity along with productivity and the business outcome. So several customers have, we are working with several customers on this conversational AI journey, and a lot of customers have reaped benefits. I am happy and proud to introduce and invite R.V. Rajshekharan, CIO of Digital, how he implemented the conversational AI journey using some of our Cognizant's methodology and best practices, to share with you.
All right. Thank you, Raja. And thanks, Paras. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is R.V. Rajashekharan. I'm the CIO for Digital at Ally Bank. So Paras talked about the magical moment with conversational UI, and that's something that we've been thinking about for quite a bit of time. So I'll start with that, and then I'll talk about Ally. So Ally launched a digital assistant capability within our mobile apps a couple of years ago, where you can talk to it and have that voice interaction and interface. And that's one of the first times that Ally tried to launch the conversational capabilities. So from there, we have taken a few more steps. So here I'm going to talk a little bit about our journey into what I call hands-free banking. So first, a little bit about Ally. Many of you might know Ally as a leading bank and a digital institution, but we offer a lot more than just banking products. We're big in the auto space. We're one of the nation's leading auto finance, dealer finance, and insurance company. And then on the banking side, outside of just deposits products, we also offer mortgages and credit card. We're in the corporate finance space, and we also do wealth management and brokerage. And one of the key things is, as a digital bank, we do all of this with no physical branches, so it's all online. So conversational interface. I think before we start talking about conversational interface, every journey, every digital journey, every time we approach a new channel, it starts with customer journey mapping, right? We talk about the customer, what journeys they're going to have on the channel, what are those capabilities, what are the features we want to provide, and how do we satisfy the customer's needs. Going back a few years, let's first talk about what we did in the web and mobile space. So about 5 years ago, we redesigned our web and mobile applications and launched new capabilities for the bank. And as we did that, our design teams and product teams spent a lot of time thinking about, what would online banking look like in the future? What would mobile banking look like in the future? What are those features, what are those capabilities we need to provide on those channels that will delight the customers? And so, as you would imagine, as our design team thought through that, it was very visual in nature, right? Where do the call to actions go? What goes above the fold? What goes below the fold? Where do the links need to be? What does navigation look like? And those are common ways to design for web and mobile. And as Paras was pointing out, the way you design for a device like Alexa is very, very different. You don't design visually, it's more verbal. So we'll talk about a little bit of that. So one of the key technical foundational capabilities we've been building for a while as we re-platformed our web and mobile devices was we were building a core set of foundational REST APIs that would support, public REST APIs that would support us for web and mobile applications. So if you were to use Ally's online banking or mobile applications, they go through those REST API layers, and that's how they access the data and all of that. So we've been building that for a while. And so as we started to go into the Alexa platform, the first thing I would say, home devices are really becoming the new web browser. I have 2 kids, and more often than not, when they're looking for information, they're using Alexa, they're not using the web browser. So if they're looking for football scores, the weather, trivia, they're using Alexa. They're not going out to a web browser, they're not using their mobile device. This is becoming a mode of conversation that's going to, at some point, we don't know when, at some point it's going to surpass mobile and web. So with that, here's how our design journey started. This is a brand new channel, as we talked about. So the first things we thought about is, okay, what are the things that are going to be useful to our customers in this channel? So for example, we wanted to focus on capabilities and features that would make you feel more comfortable using Alexa to get your balance, get your transactions, move money, whatever you wanted to do, then going into your pocket, picking out your phone, opening the Ally app, authenticating with it, finding that screen where you could do that transaction, and then doing it. So we can truly save seconds in that customer experience journey if they had an Alexa and they wanted to interact. So that was one of the core principles. As we looked at the design mapping for this, one of the core principles was, what are those things that are very convenient to do on Alexa than doing it with a mobile device or a web browser? Beyond that, what we had to think about was, what are the table stakes and what are going to be the delighters? So we're one of the very few banks who have gotten into the Alexa skill and Alexa channel. So we're very focused on figuring out, okay, what are going to be the bare minimum expectations any customer is going to have on a channel like Alexa? And what are those capabilities that be like, wow, I didn't think you could do that. That's cool, right? So we had to think about what are the delighters as well. And then, as I said before, we had to approach it very, very differently than web and mobile, because there's no visual design to look at, no prototyping from that perspective. So it was all verbal. It was all conversation building. It was figuring out what that conversation with the customer is going to be like and building that model and that interaction. So we started from scratch and built that. And as part of this, we also did a lot of iterative testing. As you'd imagine, we built a lot of different conversational models. We took it into our lab. We tested with employees. We tested with some customers. And we tried to do that multiple times to iteratively figure out what are those scenarios where maybe Alexa is being too verbose. Maybe we have too much conversation going on. Where are the points where we needed to spend more time describing what are the actions you could take and what are the options you have. So we did a lot of iterative back and forth in fine-tuning that skill. And as a bank, we also made sure that every step of the way, risk, legal, compliance, and security was top of mind, and we took care of that every step of the way. So we talked about the iterative refinements and all the things that we had to do to get that skill to market. So here's an interesting example of one of those early issues we ran into and something we had fun fine-tuning. So one of our very popular products is a 12-month high-yield CD. So the first time we asked Alexa in the lab, Alexa, what are the rates for a 12-month high-yield CD? Here's what we got. So obviously we're not in the high-yield business. And so, and this really had to do more with fine-tuning our utterances and making sure all the different permutations and combinations of what a customer says and what that might sound like and what that needs to get slotted to were thought of, right? So we spent a lot of time training our skill, making sure that through iterative refinements we had all the features dialed in. So let's get to the technical pieces. And I mentioned a few years ago we re-platformed web and mobile, and as part of that we built a lot of REST API capabilities for banking that is really at the bed of the foundational bed over which we're building all these different channels. So we have web, we have mobile, we have some third-party integrations going on through those APIs. Our vision really is down the road for these APIs to be the foundation for the numerous channels we will support in the future, Alexa being one of them, right? So we want to be able to provide this capability in as many channels as possible for customers to interact with and access our capabilities. One of the first things we did was we assessed the APIs we had. We assessed what the product teams had wanted to do from a features perspective to figure out, okay, what are the different features we want to enable on the skill? What APIs do we have? Do we need to enhance these APIs in any way to provide those capabilities? So we really started with that. We enhanced our core APIs to make sure that they could satisfy all the features that we wanted to do that. And after we did that, we spent a lot of time focusing on the security aspects on top of it. There's a lot of new security aspects that we had to go build that were needed to support this capability. So I'm sure many of you have heard of OAuth. OAuth is a capability for authorization. So using your Amazon ID, how do you authorize yourself into your Ally account? So that's a capability that we built. And so OAuth capability was built. And then as you think about, okay, when you go into the Alexa app, how do you link your account with your Amazon ID? So that account linking capability had to be built to make sure from your Alexa app, you're able to link your Ally accounts into that. Another thing is step-up authentication and security. So we're very security conscious, as you would imagine, with an Alexa skill at home. Anybody could come into your house and say, hey, we move money, or what's my balance? So we wanted to provide some level of security above and beyond just the device and the protection of the device. So we built some step-up authentication. We built voice PIN capabilities, so you could set up 2 types of voice PINs. You could either say nobody can access the Ally app without a PIN, and so if someone tried to come into your house and use the app, it'll say, what's the PIN code, and you wouldn't know it. Or you could say, I'm okay with balances and list of transactions, but if you're going to do any monetary money movement type functions, that's where I want to have a step-up PIN. So we support both of those capabilities. And then the other thing we had to also focus on was, since we're building a lot of these new capabilities with Lambda in the cloud, we wanted to make sure that our cloud to prem capabilities were also fully integrated. Do you have a question?
Yeah, were you guys able to take advantage of Voice ID? Is that available for Alexa? So you don't have to use a PIN, it can understand your voice?
Not in our current generation product, we use the PIN, but we will be looking at Voice ID down the road. Okay, so let's get into a little bit more detail. So here's how all of this comes together from a technical perspective. Customers use the Alexa device, and we talked about all the different types of devices. We built all the utterances and the intent and that slotting using the developer portal, and a little bit of details around that. There's a lot of different permutations and combinations of what could be said and what that could mean and what intent it slots to and what product type, what transactions it slots to. So we had some custom algorithms that we built to make sure that we had all those different permutations and combinations built into the developer portal. Beyond that, what you see in the middle is really the new capabilities we built, and we built with Lambda. What we did was we used Lambda more as in a mediator pattern. What our goal was we had, I'm just going to advance this a little bit. If you see on the right-hand side, that's the core set of REST APIs that we talked about that we built over the years and we have enhanced. What we built in the middle is really the new capabilities with Lambda in a mediator pattern to, one, connect with the Alexa skill, understand the utterances, the intents, and then be able to invoke the right Lambda function that had that capability, and then go back and talk to our REST APIs and mediate that conversation back, and then the whole process of mapping it back to speech out text, everything was handled by Lambda. So, and as we approached this, we also wanted to make sure that each of these functions, so balances and transactions and all of those, could scale independently, and we didn't have to worry about that. So we used the microservices pattern for that, so we could scale each of those independently. And of course, behind the scenes, we have a lot of AWS components that come into play in making all of this integration possible securely. X-Ray, CloudWatch, IAM, and KMS. So I thought we would end with maybe a live demo of how this works. And you know what they say about live demos. So here goes. Let me get my script ready. Okay. Alexa, open Ally.
Hi, Aravind. Welcome to the Ally skill. What would you like to do? You can say get balance, make a transfer, list transactions, or get help.
What's my checking account balance?
The available balance for your Checking account is $1,238.89. Do you want to hear that again?
No.
What else would you like to do? You can say get balance, list transactions, or make a transfer.
Get transactions for my checking account.
Okay, here are the most recent transactions for your checking account, ending in 0889. On November 24, 2017, $29.59 was debited at Earth Fare number 165 Concord, NC, US. On November 24, 2017, $36.63 was debited at Quick Trip Corporate Concord, NC, US. On November 24, 2017, $96.29 was debited at Toys R Us number 8825 Concord, NC, US. Do you want to hear more transactions?
No.
What else would you like to do? You can say get balance, list transactions, or make a transfer.
Make a transfer.
To verify it's you, tell me your 6-digit passcode.
646757.
Okay, how much would you like to transfer?
$100.
Which account do you want to transfer funds from? Say my checking account, or my savings account, or my account at another bank.
My account at another bank.
Which account do you want to transfer funds to? Say my checking account, or my savings account.
Checking.
Okay, we will withdraw $100 from your Wells Fargo Bank checking account ending in 6926 today. Funds will be delivered to your Ally checking account ending in 0889 tomorrow, November 29, 2017. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, if you want to cancel this transfer before it's processed, go to Transfers Activity in online banking or call us at 1-877-247-2559. Now, say approve to authorize this transfer.
Approved.
Okay, your transfer is scheduled and you will receive a confirmation soon. What else would you like to do? You can say,
Alexa, stop. So there you saw external money movement from another bank to Ally and vice versa being done hands-free, right? Of course, I used a Bluetooth remote here so it could pick up my voice, but without a mobile device. So if you're sitting on the couch and you want to, hey, I want to make sure there's enough money here. What's my balance? I want to go move some money from another account. You could do all of that from the convenience of your couch or your kitchen without even having to worry about picking up your phone. So that's the design principles we were talking about earlier, right? How do we make sure we can absolutely get to that point where it's easier for me to do this than to pick up my phone? So to end, there's some more features within the app, and one of those is a little calculator we have built, and we call it Currency with the C, Currency. And so essentially what it is, to support financial literacy and just make sure people are thinking about, okay, how much am I spending, and can I afford that? So we have this simple calculator, and so what it does is say, let's say you're looking for a $20,000 car, and you make $100,000 a year, and how many hours do I need to work to be able to afford that? So let's see how that works real quick. Alexa, open Ally.
Hi, Aravind. Welcome to the Ally skill. What would you like to do? You can say get balance, make a transfer, list transactions, or get help.
Convert $20,000 to currency.
Okay, how much do you make in a year?
100,000.
Thanks. How many hours do you work in a week?
40.
Okay, a $20,000 tap will cost you 416 hours of work. What else would you like to do? You can say get balance, list transact.
Alexa, stop. So there you have it. Thank you. I'd like to invite Paras and Raja back up. We'll take some Q&A.
Yeah, we'll get to you right away, right, in a couple of minutes. This was awesome. Thank you, Raja. Thank you, Arvind, for sharing this. I do have a couple of questions for each of you. So one, what's next for Arvind? What's next on your roadmap? I know you don't want you generally don't want to talk about roadmap, but really, what's next?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question, and as you'd imagine, there's a lot of different things in the hopper, and we're actively looking at customer, voice of customer. We're looking at what they would like to see us do next, and we're building based on that. And we talked about earlier being really a full-service bank. We have a lot of different capabilities. We're thinking about that. We're thinking about all the new capabilities Amazon has, also, things like Lex and a bunch of others, to see what might make sense for us down the road.
Awesome. Okay, great. So Raja, I had a question for you. I know you guys work across multiple customers, right? And you're doing some great work in each of these customers. What are some innovation trends that you see amongst your customer base?
Okay, so I think if you look at, I think cloud is a decade old, right? I think if you look at the demographics and the customer buying behavior pattern is also changing, right? So we see like 3 or 4 trends. I think key thing is shift towards public cloud. I think we are seeing getting accelerated. But having said that, customers do want to consider hybrid cloud as a part of their strategy, right? At the same time, they also wanted to adopt some multi-cloud strategy wherever applicable. That's the first trend we are seeing. The second thing I would say is, I think I was mentioning in my presentation also, right? I think customers are looking for, building a digital native and a cloud native type,
Right.
could be on AWS, ECS, or
Right.
Kubernetes and Pivotal Cloud Foundry on the cloud, right? So we are seeing more and more trend, that's where they wanted to build this containerization and microservices. That's the second trend. The third thing, security, right? Security and compliance, I think they are giving importance. I mean, if you look at certain industries are pretty matured, like life sciences, etc., right? Where AWS has worked with the Life Sciences Industry Association, similarly media, so they do not have issues. But some customers do have this issue. I think they are trying to see, how can they avoid more data on the public storage, etc. I think there's some trend we are seeing that. The fourth one, what we are seeing is there is a huge, push towards a mass migration.
Yep.
Customers wants to, I think it is a board agenda. If you look at
Right.
board agenda is cut your data centers, right?
Right.
Cut your data centers and then move everything to public cloud, right? So since the pressure is coming from the board, I think we are seeing a wave of customers wants to move to the public cloud. That is where we see your AWS MAP program,
Yep.
Migration Acceleration Program, and the new one which we are going to announce, the mass migration, I think, So these are really just going to help. So we are seeing these are the trends. Shift towards public cloud, applications getting containerized and microservices, more and more customers are looking for that. Security, still I think you cannot solve the problem of security. It is an evolution. I think that's a third thing. The last one I would say is like topics such as AI, right? I think it's become the integral part of every enterprise.
Right.
Like everybody started talking about, do we have AI? Do we have machine learning? Things of that
Right.
nature, right?
Yep.
So towards that, I think what we have done, I think just to help the customers, we have the separate digital practice, Cognizant digital business practice. Under that, there is a conversational AI practice.
Okay.
So we are helping customers to, provide the design thinking, system integration expertise, proof of concept. Somebody wants to explore Alexa, for example, right? That is where I think we go there, we do the proof of concept, and then, we
Right.
look at, 5 considerations like, time to market, having enterprise focus, language support, platform reach, and data sovereignty, things of that nature. Our conversational AI practice, I think, today we are helping them.
Right. I think one specific part, right, the proof of concept that you mentioned, I think is really an accelerator to try something big. This is where you could try, a small thing, right, and see if it really works, and then take it forward to, expand it to whatever you need to. And oftentimes with AWS, the biggest advantage, right, that we see is customers love to do proof of concepts because the cost of failure is really low, right? You can try something, and if you fail, it's totally fast. So fail fast, that's really been a motto that we see, us at Amazon doing, and also our customers, right? So great, thank you. So Arvi, I had a question for you. I learned, I think a couple of days ago, that the Cognizant team built the skill in a real quick time, right? It was crunch. So, what were your thoughts? What's some feedback you have for?
Yeah, we've had a long partnership with Cognizant. They've been great partners throughout the journey. And when we were looking to accelerate our move to the Alexa skill, they were great partners. They were there all along the way through the design and the development and the testing phases. And it's a great partnership.
Fantastic. Yeah, I know the global delivery models, right? They have teams diverse all across the world. It really helps accelerate the development cycle because then it's 24/7 development, right?
Yep.
So I think I have a little more difficult question, and something that I personally struggle with, with the speed of innovation that AWS does, right? And how quickly we release features throughout the year. I usually take a couple of hours on Friday to catch up with everything. You guys have over thousands of folks, right, that are on AWS. How do you make sure that they're trained, they are up to date, they're keeping up with all the innovation that's going on?
So we see, the cloud is at an inflection point, right? If you look at, right? Just wanted to a quote from Alexander Graham Bell: before you prepare, before everything else, preparation is a key thing.
Right.
So I think the floodgates are open, right? So for that, we need to build that expertise, right?
Right.
So we are investing heavily, on this new skills like, this cloud technologies and cloud adjacent technologies, right? At the same time, we wanted to unlearn our traditional approaches, right? Doing the traditional training. So if you look at everybody on the delivery floor or the consultants, they are all DevOps, cultured, DNA. I think we are injecting to them. So we have a Cognizant Career Academy where they go through this constant training programs. Now, the next wave is, I think you must have seen in one of the slides, we have 2,000 plus AWS certified people.
Right.
But our plan is in 2018, 5,000 plus people will be AWS certified. And 2018 focus is specialization.
Right.
It's not just migrating to the cloud. How can they get specialized in AWS ML, AWS, artificial intelligence, things of that nature? Just we wanted to bring focus, right?
Okay.
And apart from that, I think we are also working with you guys on specified, training programs, etc. So we feel the key raw material to win in the cloud space is, it is the human intellectual capital. So that is where we are trying to invest, and constantly, I think, we are retraining the folks, as a part of our Cognizant, Career Academy.
Awesome. I mean, this is great, right? Some staggering numbers, right? Huge numbers. So thank you for sharing that. I think now we'll open it up to Q&A. Yes, please.
Good session. I had a question for you. How do you encourage your clients to solve the security privacy concern around hacking accounts where you can speak a PIN inside the household and others can hear the PIN when you may not want your children or others in the household to perform certain transactions, or even your spouse theoretically if you have separate accounts?
Yeah, you have to use your discretion in those cases. You're probably not using the skill when others can hear the PIN, but outside of that, so you need to have that discretion.
Does that cause any compliance or security concerns, and how are you addressing those?
Yeah, I mean, we have fully vetted that capability from a compliance and risk perspective. We can talk about that more offline.
Okay. Yeah, I think we have one more person at the mic, and then we can come here.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
I have a couple, but I'll just ask one for now. So you mentioned that you wanted to increase the number of channels through which customers can interact with Ally. So my question is, as you expanded into voice apps, why did you choose to start with Alexa rather than one of the other options that's available, such as Google Home?
Yeah, that is a great question. It really comes down to, if you look at the numbers, the most widely adopted and one of the first movers in the home device market was Alexa. And so we knew that our customers are using more of that device. That's one answer. The other is also the ease and speed with which we're able to do the development and the integration, not just on the skill capabilities, but also on the cloud side with Lambda and everything. It was just the right choice for us and for our customers.
Okay. Yep, go ahead.
So coming from Australia, so we don't have Alexa yet in Google Home, so probably a naive question. But first of all, good illustrator
Yeah, I can't go into the details, but the adoption is increasing quite a bit, and we're also starting to hear some VOC ratings, and so we're starting to interact with that and tweak it based on that. It's definitely something that the customers are liking. Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions? Yes. So just to reiterate for everybody's advantage, her question is more around testing and making sure, how do you make sure all the utterances are captured accurately to respond to a customer's need, right? Yep.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and this is something, because it's a brand new channel, we had to approach it very differently in all aspects, not just product development, feature development, design, actual software development, and testing as well. So there was a lot of things that went into it. We built our test cases based on the different utterances and all the intents that we wanted to satisfy. We had to figure out all the different permutations and combinations, how those utterances could be said. And more than anything, it comes down to usability testing, taking it into a lab environment, and having those conversations, throwing in a curveball, seeing how that works, and the constant fine-tuning that comes out of that. So it was a good learning experience for us as well.
Great. More questions? Yes.
You talked about using OAuth capability for this. Did you have OAuth before getting into this, or did you build it as a result?
Yeah, so two things that came together, I would say. OAuth was something that was in our roadmap and we were building, and Alexa was another thing that was on our roadmap, and it kind of came together at the same time.
I was going to ask you, how long did it take for you to build OAuth?
Yeah, the overall journey, we kind of did both OAuth and Alexa kind of in parallel, and the entire journey was something in the order of about 7 to 8 months.
Great. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, the usability testing is employee and customer led, so we do both, and we try to do different scenarios with different types of accounts that you might have. We have a lot of different types of accounts, so we really had to focus on getting a good diversity in that population.
I believe you had a beta running for a few weeks.
Yeah, and we also had a beta.
Right?
Yeah, you're right. So we had a beta launch just for our employees first, and people could download it and play with it first, and then we launched GA.
Great.
That also
I think the gentleman over there. Yes.
I'd like to piggyback off of the testing question. So you mentioned you do like usability testing and iterating on the conversational models to make sure that it's a good user experience. My question is, do you have automated end-to-end regression testing so that when you make a change, you can just run a test suite and make sure that none of the conversational flows broke, and you don't have to take up like human hours to do that? Like,
yeah. So with not just Alexa, but with any of our channels, we try to focus on the end-to-end integration and automation testing as much as possible. And if you can have it at as many layers of the stack as possible, it's even better. So we try to do that as much as possible. And I think you're in the industry, you would know there's no end to that, right? You're always adding to that test bed, and you're constantly adding to the number of automation that you can do.
How is your automated regression tests implemented at a high level? Do you like have voice recordings that you play to Alexa? Or?
Maybe we can take that question offline, and I can go into a little bit more detail on that.
Okay.
Fantastic. Any more questions? All right, I think we're good.
So Paras, before they leave, so there's a card on your seat, I think it's a drop. I think you can take this and go to Cognizant booth 2440, and you'll get a copy of What to Do When Missions Do Everything. It's authored by Cognizant's executives. It's an interesting concept, and also you can also meet our conversational AI practice experts also in the booth, and so that they can share some experience and accelerate your conversational AI journey if you have as a part of your roadmap.
I see you guys have a big booth, so I really encourage all of you to go talk to Cognizant experts over there and learn about more about what they do, and hopefully take advantage of some of the services that they provide. Thank you for coming. I hope you have a great reInvent, and look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.